So she left you, huh? Feels pretty bad. You probably feel like all this time and effort has been flushed down the toilet. And now you feel emptier than before, grasping onto anything that helps fill the void that she left. You feel hopeless, but you're definitely not alone. But what if I told you you don't have to feel this way? What if I told you that you could look back at what happened with joy and happiness? In today's video, I'm gonna teach you exactly how to do that. No overly complicated red pill advice, just 3 pure, actionable steps that you can take to overcome the pain and discomfort and build relationships that last. Join this new movement and build your very own hero's journey by subscribing. Let's get into it. So before we start, here's a bit of background. I fall in love super easily, and despite not being the perfect man in a relationship, I always sink 100% of myself into these relationships. Despite that, I have a super easy time overcoming breakups. I never really cried after a breakup. I always see the end of a relationship as the beginning of something new. How is that possible? How can someone just get dumped by a woman that they love with all their heart and walk it off like it's nothing? Am I a psychopath? Maybe. Or maybe meaningful relationships are simply not the main focus of my life. If you want to learn the subtle art of not crying over every ended relationship, you first need to understand how adult relationships work. You're not in kindergarten anymore. It's time to treat breakups as very real and common things that happen all the fucking time. So the very first point of getting over a relationship is actually staying on good terms. This goes against the traditional red pill advice, which is block her on Instagram, block her on everything, just eliminate her from your life. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to actually stay on good terms. Why? Because most people look back at their relationships with sadness, with guilt, with anger. They always have this sort of feeling that they lost something. They feel sad, almost like the person died with the relationship. They feel guilty over the things that they did wrong. They feel angry over the fact that it all ended and got flushed down the toilet. The most masculine thing you can actually do is to go against that, and instead look back at the relationship and the time you had together with happiness, joy, and pride. This type of gratitude can only come from within you. And yes, it is the most masculine it can get. Now, if she cheated on you, then yes, things are a little more complicated. You need to go a little bit deeper inside of you to find that forgiveness for her. But if she left you, you are at least partially responsible for what happened. You need to ask forgiveness for that. Now, I'm not telling you to stay friends with her. In fact, I actually advise against it. But you need to be able to actually see her on the street and smile at her. You need to actually show that you've gotten over the relationship. And you can do that by staying on good terms. Imagine if you saw her on the street and instead you looked at her with a sense of shame, a sense of anger and guilt and all of the mix of emotions that are not masculine. She's not gonna feel very respectful towards you. If you instead smile at her, if you treat her like a human being, if you show her that you have gotten over the relationship, that you've improved whatever mistakes that you were making at the time, you will be much more respectable and you will have that sense of calm inside of you. This is the most masculine it can get. It shows that you've had time to reflect on your mistakes to improve yourself. You have taken that time to find contentment and you bear no hard feelings. Now, it is important to say that women are not stupid. If you try to fake this, if you skip this step and the steps that I'm about to discuss, she's gonna know. She's gonna know that you're faking this confidence. She's gonna know that you're faking getting over her. So the first point to getting over her is to find that contentment, whether it is by forgiving her or asking for forgiveness. Most of the advice nowadays is to just remove her from your life, block her on every social media platform, just remove everything about her, delete all the old pictures, just block her on everything.
The way to get over a breakup is to delete all photos, all videos, and unfollow each other. Gentlemen, I don't understand why you keep old, cute couple photos. It really is very twisted to me because you need to understand that at this point, to truly get over your first love, they have to be dead to you.
Yes, it is justified in some cases, and if you find yourself in a difficult situation where you seriously cannot get over her because she is constantly on your mind and constantly in your Instagram feed, just keep watching. I'll tell you what to do without actually sacrificing your healing process. But imagine this, you're 90 years old, if you live that long, that is, and you have your whole entire family around you. And the only thing on TV at that moment is the story of your life, and you decide to watch it. How would you feel if there were just empty spots and complete darkness in places where you used to have fond memories of a girl that you were together with? Would you be happy that these are erased? Would you be happy that they are lost? Or would you rather look back at these relationships, understand that they ended, understand why they ended, but still feel happy and content over the fact that they happened? You should not remove the memories of meaningful relationships from your life because they matter in the long run. They build you into the person that you are today. Even that girl you met on Tinder that you were together with for 6 months, she still changed who you are, and she changed you into the person you are today. Even if it's just a tiny bit, she influenced who you are, and you should not forget it. You should not go back to your old ways ever. And once you've realized that you actually need to be on good terms with her, how do you do it? Well, if you hurt her in the process and she hates you in a way, then it might be a little difficult. But I'll tell you what I did specifically and how it helped me. So you're probably just like me in the way that you are a classic man who doesn't like to talk about emotions, and you just don't like to express yourself in a vulnerable state. And that's fine. That's how men are. But what you need to do is grow some balls, grow some humility, and swallow that pill of being vulnerable for just 1 second. So what I did was I actually wrote a letter to my previous ended relationship. We were not in a very good state when it comes to the after breakup relationship. We kind of agreed to stay friends, but we all know that this is not really a thing you can do. Friends with benefits after a relationship ending, it's not the best way to go about things, right? So at first it went pretty well. We were still, chatting. We were still in a good spot. We weren't together, but we were still like getting along. And suddenly she decided that she was gonna just completely be cold towards me. Now I'm kind of grateful that it happened, because otherwise I think I would have sunk back into that relationship emotionally. So what I decided to do was actually write a letter to her, because I realized that I never truly really apologized for the wrong things that I did during that relationship. And I realized that in order to truly get over her, I need to be on good terms with her. I cannot have a person in this world hating me for the things that I've done or said. So I took my notebook and I wrote 2 pages basically of just saying that she was a big influence on who I am now, and I just apologized in written form for her. Now the reason why I decided to write a letter instead of actually telling all of that to her in person was because we kind of had this relationship where she would often write letters to me and I would never really write back, because writing isn't my thing really. I didn't do these kind of like little things that usually good relationships have, like I would still bring her flowers and stuff, but I wouldn't do these sort of small things that add up together at the end. And I was like, you know what? It's time I actually make it up for her. Even though the relationship is over, I'm gonna go out of my comfort zone and write this letter for her. Now I made pretty sure in that letter to acknowledge the fact that the relationship is over and I want nothing to do with her, and I know that she wants nothing to do with me. But this was sort of like the end of the chapter for that relationship, because leading up to that moment when I handed her the letter and she read it, it was still kind of open. Like we still had this sort of malice between us, and we had this sort of stress in the air where none of us really like knew what was going on. We didn't get along really. So I figured it was a good way to end things on a positive note. This is what you need to do. You need to end things on a positive note. Otherwise, you're just gonna be left wondering what could have been, feeling guilty over the fact that you did things wrong, and you will feel that creeping feeling of someone hating you for the things that you've done. And this is one of the factors why actually most people have a hard time getting over a relationship. They feel guilt. They feel like they still have something in that relationship. They still have chips in the game. You need to cash everything out. You need to leave nothing on the table. Just pour your heart out into a letter. Now, do you have to give it to her? Well, you could actually just burn it. But me personally, I felt like I owed that to her, to just apologize and, have her actually know that there is no malice between us. For me personally, it helped a lot, and I think that might have helped her as well, because she finally got that apology that she never would have gotten from me had I not written that letter. Apologizing in a non-wishing to get back together way does have its side effects. The main side effect being that she might wonder if you actually ever cared about her, because you sort of nonchalantly explain what happened, you nonchalantly apologize, and you basically make it pretty well known that you are not interested in her in that way anymore. If you do it in the way that I did it, she might wonder if you ever really loved her or cared for her. Now, this might seem like a cool psychological trick to get her obsessed with you, but in reality, this is not what we're trying to do here. We are not trying to get her back. If you apologize to her and if you treat her like someone who's in the past now, with the sole purpose of getting her back, you're doing it wrong. You need to acknowledge to yourself that after you write that letter or send that text message or talk to her in person, that it is over. It is done with. The chapter is over. It's a new page for you. If you do it that way, you will be much more content, much more happy. You will actually genuinely get over her instead of just trying to win her back. Now, the second point to actually getting over her is to analyze what happened and analyze yourself. So for an example, if she left you because you're always busy and you never have time for her, then maybe it's not the right time for an actual relationship. maybe it's not the time for a commitment. This type of self-analysis is vital to your personal growth because you are able to actually optimize your life to a point where you don't spend a single minute on things that don't matter. So for an example, if you truly have a busy life and you need to focus on things that matter to you the most in a way that you don't really have time for a relationship, then why even bother with one? You're just going to be slowing yourself down from your actual goals. However, if you still feel like you could commit to someone and still focus on your personal life at the same time, then it is important to analyze what you did wrong, simply because you will have relationships in the future that you don't want to make the same mistakes on. Now, most girls will tell you what you did wrong if you just ask them, or they just tell you when they leave you. They might not be 100% transparent with you. Sometimes there are cases where they might just have found another guy or fallen in love with another guy and they just tell you, oh, you never have time for me, blah, blah, blah. But it is important to notice that this is still a part of why she decided to leave you. She didn't just see another guy who's more attractive than you and fall in love. Women don't work that way. Women actually need to have an emotional connection to the guy that they are falling in love with. There is some reason why she decided to leave you, and you need to analyze why that reason is. Most of the time, it's not what you think it is, and most of the time, you just have to ask her to be very, very honest with you. I mean, think about it this way. This is direct feedback for you. If you're competing in a sport and you lose, then obviously you go to your coach and ask, what did I do wrong? What could I improve? Why did we lose? Or why did you lose specifically? This is the same thing here. You're trying to get that information out of her that could help you in future relationships. Now, she might not be eager to give it to you, but if you follow that first point and you are on good terms, there is a very good chance that she's actually going to just tell you all the information you need to improve yourself, to improve the way you interact with other people and other relationships. It is your job as a man to actually listen to the feedback that you get. Just leave your idiotic, I can do no wrong mentality at the doorstep. Embrace the humility and actually listen to what she tells you. And you need to listen to every single detail. If the main reason why she left you was because you were busy all the time, but she also brings up the points that you never brought her flowers or you never actually told her that you loved her, these are all very important points that you need to leverage in future relationships in order to not make the same mistakes again and in order to not lose another relationship to the same mistakes. Now, before we get into the third point, I must admit that I've actually done some bad things in relationships. So what I mean by that is oftentimes when I would find myself getting out of the groove and, getting too lazy or too comfortable, I would like subconsciously start doing things that would piss the girl that I'm with off and then maybe potentially make her leave me, get me back into the groove of self-improvement again. It might sound psychopathic to toy with a girl's emotions to the point where she would dump you and then you can use that energy to just keep improving yourself. And I completely agree with you, it is psychopathic. While it is important for you to utilize every tool that you have in your arsenal for your self-development journey, please don't hurt other people in the process, okay? She does not deserve to be tortured just because you need your heart broken for the 79th time in a row to get gym motivation, okay? Be a man and find that energy elsewhere. So, the actual third point, probably the most important of them all. You need to focus on yourself. The general advice you see is go to the gym or grow a business or, focus on your appearance, blah, blah, blah. In reality, anything really that makes you content or actually interests you will do. Maybe you want to focus on school more. Maybe you want to focus on your family more. Maybe you just want to have fun and just enjoy life in general. You need to have some sort of goals, yes, but at the end of the day, everybody is different. Just because people online say, you need to hit the gym when she leaves you, does not mean that you actually need to do that. You need to pick something that works for you. This is why I say focus on yourself. I don't want to give you general information that's not going to work for even 10% of the population. I want to give you information that might help you find your real solution. Literally, the moment that you start setting goals and focusing on your own life is the moment that you start distancing yourself from that failed relationship. I mean, why do you think guys actually go to the gym and post these TikToks about getting their heart broken and then lifting in the gym? Do they do it because they want to look good for a future relationship or a future girl? Possibly in some cases, but most of the time they just need something to focus on. They need some sort of goal. They need to set themselves a distraction in a way. Now, I don't really want you to find a distraction. I want you to find purpose. If your purpose in life is to become the most aesthetic bodybuilder, to become the next Mr. Olympia, then yeah, you should probably hit the gym to get over her, right? But for most people, they have different purposes in life, and it is very difficult to find what your purpose is, I'll be honest with you. You need to stop stalking her Instagram like a loser. You need to stop drunk dialing her when you feel sad and alone. If you start doing that kind of shit, then all of the previously built goodwill and staying on good terms will be eliminated. If you're someone with zero self-control, then there is a cool trick you can do. You can actually mute her on Instagram. She needs to still think that you're an adult male who has this sort of implied stoicism. So again, the advice of just blocking her on everything, blah, blah, blah. It might help you, in the long run, but again, what if you see her on the street? Do you just smile at her and wave at her and be like, hey, how are you doing? Or do you just look at her like, oh my God, I blocked you on everything. I just hoped I wouldn't see you ever again. Now you're here. Oh my God, all the memories are starting to come back. No, you just keep all of the memories in your head. You do not try to forget the fact that you were together for like however long it may have been. Understand that she was a major part of your life and you cannot just simply cut it out of your life. You still need to keep some sort of memories, some sort of experience that you had together in your life. If you want to remove her completely, then you probably need to go to electroshock therapy, have your mind erased by the Men in Black with that little pen thing. Don't do that, okay? Don't be a pussy. Just keep following her, keep everything the way it was. Obviously, if you posted any pictures with her together, remove those, but you don't have to just completely erase her from the hard disk. And if you find it still difficult, you still find yourself sad and wondering what happened, blah, 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 follow steps 1 and 2. She will also come to respect you more if she sees that you actually have a pretty easy time getting over her, that you actually have enough other shit in your life and enough goals to actually not focus on her and the pain that might have come from breaking up with her. So find something that takes up so much of your time that you simply do not have any time left to think of her. This is exactly how people beat their addictions. You are addicted to her, so find something else to become addicted to. But what if I'm only interested in Fortnite and anime and video games? Well, that's because you lack purpose. You need to find what your meaning in life really is. Like I already said, you could always find something arbitrary like work or school or the gym. If you don't have a real purpose or meaning in life, you will still feel slightly empty. If you want to find your purpose in life, you need to actually go deeper within yourself. And I actually made a very helpful video about that, so you can check that out here. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, share it with someone who might find it useful as well. Fly high.